All right, here we are. Hey, everyone. We are jumping on today to talk about going from the therapy room to the classroom. And so we're going to talk about inclusive related services with some, one of our favorite topics, but it's just about inclusion. So it kind of all fits underneath the umbrella of favorite.
I wonder if anyone's ever keeping track of how many favorite topics we have. And the beauty is,
It's like one of our favorite. And we just love SLTs and OTs and PTs. And then we get on, we're like, oh, and we love.
yes, I know. So yeah, we do love thinking about and talking about inclusive related services because I can't tell you the number of inclusive related service providers that we know and love that think this work is phenomenal. And I also can't tell you how many have said, I get it, but do you know what it's like to schedule for the number of students I have? But do you know how hard it is to actually embed IEP goals? Do you know, right? And so it is a complex thing. And so we're going to talk about that today.
Oh, that's all. I was just getting it all queued up so I could watch on Facebook too. So
Okay.
excellent. Yeah. And Julie's right. Sometimes it's about people are a little bit nervous or a little bit unsure. And it's like, can this really happen? There's a lot of responsibility that related service folks have. I would say, Julie, even because of early childhood, we've sort of ingrained and trained families to think that more therapy is better, or if I drag you across town to a therapist, that must be really special things happening. Not that there isn't, but it's this mindset that we create. And now we sort of are saying to, what do we talk sometimes about? Flipping the switch. It's like, oh, yeah, it was totally fine to drag your kid for 3 years to therapy, but now don't you worry. We can do it in the classroom when there's 32 other kids, but it's all the same. So, you can understand where people might be a little nervous or unsure. Can I still meet the goals of the goal, like the achievement level, the progress. And then, like you said, do you know how many buildings and classrooms, and do you know what my caseload looks like?
Yeah. And I want to add on to that, parents who are saying, I really want inclusive OT, PT, or SLP services. And I really am struggling because my system is saying, we don't do that here, or that's not in the best interest of your child, or. So we're going to give a couple tips today. We're going to do two major things, a couple tips, and then tell you about this brand new thing that we have for inclusive related service providers. Yeah. Do you think thing is the right description, Christy?
I was going to say, like, it might sound intriguing, except for it's still us. So I'm going to guess they're going to be like, I bet that thing is PD. And we'd be like, you're right.
You're right. The thing is PD, but it's really excellent. So we are on episode 6 of In the Circle with Julie and Christy, and it is called From the Therapy Room to the Classroom.
And I'm going to drop a link quickly in the Facebook comments that we have a blog with all of the things that Julie and I will be talking about for the next so many minutes. Like she said, we're going to do 3 big tips. You can download 10 tips for creating more inclusive related services or moving from therapy room to the classroom. And we're going to unpack a few, and then we're going to tell you about this thing, which is our new inclusive related services on demand PD. And I'll put that link in there too, Julie, just in case anybody can't wait, but you get us started.
Okay. Yeah. If you're here and you're like, I want to know all about that, jump there, and it's pretty fabulous and you can read all about it. From the therapy room to the classroom, our first tip is get creative with scheduling. So we recognize that folks who are, I'll just say, speech language pathologists,
okay,
have a huge caseload, and they've got to see so many kids in so many places. It becomes like a puzzle to figure out how to do it unless I pull kids to me. Now, here's an issue. The law says that all services are portable and should be brought to kids in the general education setting, and that we can't use staff convenience as a reason to pull kids out. So now we're stuck, right? Because we're supposed to do inclusive services, and yet it's really hard. So Christy, do you want to talk about how to get creative with scheduling?
Yeah, and I think I was, you know, the way I look at this, we have these 4 little ideas. And again, the handout goes into more detail. It's really asking us to really think differently about the schedule. Now, I also wanted to sort of say, you can join us at the Summer Leadership Institute, and we're unveiling a whole bunch of things about schedules. But for now, it's sort of like when you feel like you're in an impasse, it's easy to go, well, our schedule's fixed. My caseload's too big. Geographic spread too great. And I would just want you to think about, where can you be creative and think about doing just one thing a little bit differently. Sometimes thinking about the schedule, I would say, Julie, is probably a little overwhelming. So I'm going to pick number 2 of this first tip, which is consultative time versus direct only time. Just all too often, I see this in early childhood IEPs often, regardless of the related service, but we know a lot of the related service in the early years is speech and language, that we often write goals in such a way that it sort of ties our hands in terms of how we might provide special education or specially designed instruction around it. And it's so particular or so specific that it really requires a pull out, pull over, pull aside. And then you have to wonder, well, why am I trying to achieve a goal that the kid can't sort of naturally do in the daily routine? That the only kind of place I can do it is under these special conditions or special materials or special equipment with special people. You have to kind of scratch your head and say, how is that the most important goal for this child, when IEP goals should be to increase access, participation, and progress in daily activities? So consultative versus direct, sometimes just even asking that question could be something about, oh, can I consult with a family, a gen ed teacher, a pre-K teacher? Can I consult with a 3rd grade team about this issue? Can I consult with the building about how to adapt the social or physical environment, the bathroom, the lunchroom, the outdoor? Is there something I could do that would be consultative, that would actually increase access probably for all students, but also would make us go, maybe this goal needs to be tweaked a little bit, versus blinders on a very therapy or discipline specific looking goal that sort of then predicates the therapy room. So that's a long-winded way, Julie, of that one to me, is to really just ask yourself the question. And if you're like, no, it really has to be me with this special thing in this special place, I'm going to still go, oh, maybe that's not the goal we want.
So Christy, I'm going to read an example of a goal that people can see how naturally it fits. Okay. So this is a goal of grip strength that might be used in occupational therapists. An occupational therapist might have a student who has a goal of grip strength. And so this goal is written with the student in mind, and it says, at recess, while playing jump rope, Seth will maintain the hand positioning and hand grip necessary to hold on for 15 consecutive twirls. And now that I remember who this is about, this is Seth. He's not jumping, but he is helping others jump. So that was something else that I forgot about this particular goal. But notice what that's causing. It's causing us to evaluate that during a very exciting, very interesting opportunity on the playground.
Yeah. Right? And we could even get more creative and just say, during a variety of play activities, like when jumping rope, so that we create, and we don't go, oh my gosh, now this kid who hates jumping rope has to play jump rope because 3 out of 4 days we got to collect data. Like, it's just, just opens up, but that's not about related services, about IEPs.
That's right. But the good news for this kid is that he loves participating with jump rope. And this is the school that does double dutch. There's all sorts of stuff going on. So holding on to that rope is kind of a key feature for him.
Yeah, it was a good match for that kid, which is the I in individualized, as Otto would remind us. Okay, absolutely. So that was the first tip. And Julie, did you? Yeah. Okay. So the first tip was get creative about your schedule. We've given you 4 sub ideas. And if you download the handout from the blog post, you can get all 10 and with a little bit more detail, or read the blog and it gives a lot more detail. Thanks to Dr. Kate McLeod. Okay. Next tip, Julie.
So when we talk with SLPs, OTs, and PTs, they say they get really, really creative with being another educator in the room. So one reason related service providers struggle to do this is because they sometimes feel like they are relegated to an assistant position, or they're only assisting instruction. And what we want to say is open up the concept and the idea of be a co-teacher in the room and embed those goals in all sorts of ways. So it doesn't only have to be you, but you could be part of instructing a whole class, leading small groups, supporting all students, and assessing skills of all students. And so again, Christy's earlier said, we've got to change our thinking about what these related services are doing, and really open up what's possible. So those related service providers who do this often say, think of yourself as another educator right in the room, and use all the best strategies of co-teaching.
And Julie, I was thinking that the yeah, but, unless you were going to talk about it on the third one, but the yeah, but might be, remember my caseload, remember how many buildings and rooms I have to be to, how am I supposed to co-plan, how would we communicate with each other, what I'm going to do or what I'm going to embed when I do visit your classroom. What's a simple way that we could communicate that without having to be in real-time lesson planning?
Yeah, I'll just say Google Docs are your friends. So plan your lessons in an electronic format, and you can have a column for the related service provider. And let's say you're making posters in social studies class, and cutting is the issue that people are working on. And so you're working on scissors. And so what we have to do is think about how and when are you going to put that practice in place? And then does it have to be you, or do you have a set of instructions that help the student use the modified materials or the adapted scissors, or what is it that are your services, and then who can provide them? So it's about getting really creative with who has to provide those services, and the answer isn't always the related service provider.
So it's a bit of both tips then. It's you could consult with a para or consult with the gen ed teacher, or consult with fill in the blank about what to do during that lab activity or whatnot. And or did you want to talk about the matrix right now?
Well, yes, I do. Let's do the matrix, because the matrix is really useful when thinking about either number 1 or number 2.
Yeah.
And it is this question that we get all the time, which is, how do you embed the goals in the class? Because when I come there, I really want to make sure that they're using that particular skill that I'm working on.
If you share your screen, Julie, I put the link in the Zoom chat so you can show it right out.
Oh, cool.
The matrix, if you want to, because for whatever reason, I can't share my screen.
Oh, okay. I'll get there. Hold on.
Yeah. So people are like, well, how do I do this? So we're going to show you. Yeah, go for it, Jill.
Okay. So this is the magic behind the scenes. If you don't use one of these already, you need to know about it. You pick any kid on earth and you put the class schedule. I'm just going to pick 2nd grade just to be super simple. So they have morning meeting right here.
Okay.
And then they have ELA block. And then they have music class. This is a particular Tuesday maybe. And then they have math, and then they have recess, and then they have UC. You just fill it in. What's the typical schedule? Okay. Then you take the particular student you're thinking of, let's say Seth in that last example, and you put all the kids' IEP goals over here. Like Seth is working on greeting a peer. Seth is working on articulation of the letter B. Seth is working on grip strength. Seth is working on, right, all the goals, and they're written in shorthand form. It doesn't have to be the long fancy goal that's measurable. And then you say greeting a peer. Now, where and when could Seth work on greeting a peer? And I would say morning meeting, I'd put a check right there. That's where. I'd also say at lunch, when Seth sits down at the lunch table, it's really likely that you'd say hi to your classmates, right? And you put check marks the places where the goals would naturally be practiced, or where you're going to embed them right into the day or the schedule.
And so I think what
And
this does, I'm going to tell you one thing and then elevate that. So stay right there, Joel. The idea is that this is a master plan, so that if I'm visiting a classroom or one of many classrooms, everybody knows what my role is going to be during that activity, and we understand that we're working on that goal, or that I'm going to work on one of the goals and the gen ed teacher's working on another one simultaneously. A way you can elevate this and tie back to the first tip of consultation, you'd have to make your Google Drive document a little bit bigger of a cell, but at that intersect where the classroom schedule and the IEP goal meet up, you could put what the adaptation is, or what the prompt is, or what level of support you should provide, or what you would say, or what materials to put out. So you could do your little bit of, which is kind of stealing our thunder for the third tip, but you could say a little bit more there at that intersect of the goal and the schedule of what to do, so that people had some knowledge that we're implementing on your behalf, or embedding. If I'm the paraprofessional, I would know exactly what to do.
yeah, that's beautiful. And even you could number it and put a support plan that follows. I'm worried about cell size, so I was just thinking like, okay, it could easily be appended. You can have just more specifics about what does it look like? What do you say?
Yeah.
If you're working on the B sound, how do you support the lips? What do you say? How do you support the sound? And what really works for this particular student, right? So you're just providing that support, and then you decide who's supporting it. And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom to say, you can also get really fancy and saying, here's where we're going to instruct that concept. Like the recess example, Christy, I don't think a lot of instruction should be happening.
Yeah.
I think that might, right? But that might be a place where data is collected, where you just go, yeah, today he did 30 rotations of, right? Because you've shared with the recess supervisor and they are watching and 30 happened. Okay, we've met that goal. We're going to keep working. And then where adaptations are required. So there's the matrix. Enjoy it.
I put more resources on embedding in your in the Facebook comments. And now we're going to go to tip number 3, unless you want to show about the course first, Julie, and then do tip number 3. It's up to you.
Okay, let's do the course first.
Okay.
Are you having trouble sharing your screen or no?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Oh,
it just says that the host disabled it, so I thought that I got kicked out. But maybe you can change it. We had to restart your computer, so.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay, so Christy, let me whoopsie. Let me go back.
Okay.
And
I put the link in the chat if that's easier for you.
Okay. I'm gonna make you a co-host because something happened weird.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. All right, here we go. This is the thing.
This is the thing. So hot off the press, and I'm really glad you mentioned Dr. Kate McLeod, because she is on our team and she really took the lead in putting a lot of this together, and it is phenomenal. The thing that we are talking about today is we have a full course for all sorts of related services providers for how to do inclusive related services.
And I guess you probably wanted to show the course, not this page, huh? I
did. I wanted to show the course.
Okay, you might have to do tip number 3 and I'll get the course then.
Okay, that's good. I like it. This is the beauty of co-teaching, isn't it? Okay, tip number 3. Are you ready for it? Whoops.
I'm ready.
It's teach educators as you teach students. So when you're in the general ed setting, well, I'm sorry, the tip is called share your knowledge, but I wanted to jump right in.
Okay.
Share your knowledge. So we think related service providers are some of the smartest people on earth. They can walk in and be like, oh, all we need is a slant board and we need raised line paper and this would really help. And you're just like, really? So don't forget that you're using all these beautiful cues, that if you just teach those cues to everybody else, they can be used seamlessly. Like, for example, you might have a student that needs to support their paper with one hand when they're working on writing. And so you might have a clever way to tell them to do that. So you would teach that phrase. just like we were talking about, I'm going to talk about probably all of these because I love this one so much. Just like we talked about, make little handy handouts. It might say something like, when working with so-and-so on keyboarding, make sure to remind her to, and you just have everything written out. Lead tiny training sessions. You might be talking about why crossing midline is super helpful for the student and how to support a student to do it. And you'd have a tiny training session on the importance of crossing midline. And remember, you're so knowledgeable, related service provider. If you share your knowledge like a coach to other folks in the building, you are essentially exponentially increasing the amount of services kids are getting, but they're getting them naturally. So consider yourself a co-teacher, a coach, a creator of adaptations and supports.
Yeah, I like that. And you can put that on, behind all the initials on your name. You can just add some C's that don't mean whatever the C's mean for MASHA and for SLPs, but they're like creator of, whatever that was.
Creator of magic, COM, creator of magic. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so now I'm ready, Julie. So now I can show you the course shell. So this is the course, and it works. These are links that move you around. So I'll just tell you quickly big, and then Julie, you can pick where we go look. So there's some videos that show how to use the course and welcome you. There's some on-demand sessions that Julie and I created for related service folks. Then we have some super cool research and practical guidelines. They're downloads and handy handouts. Speaking of tiny trainings and handy handouts. And then maybe our favorite is a whole page of tips, tools, practical solutions straight from current, I think 9 SLPs and OTs and PTs from all over the United States give us their very best tips, answer your questions, tell us how to do it. And so there's, that I had my cursor in the wrong place. Learn from practitioners. We adapted our definition of inclusion to be about inclusive related services. There's bonuses. So where should we go, Jewel?
Let's jump to the learn from practitioners, because this is what we're really, really proud of. We brought some of the best folks that are doing this work that are super excited, and we've color coded it. So if you're really interested in SLPs or OTs or PTs, you'll know because there's a color key that goes with it. But there are bite-sized tips all about from practicing SLPs, for example. So how do you support goals throughout the day? How do you move towards transdisciplinary IEP goals? How do you co-plan? What does it look like? How do you build relationships with your co-teachers? Consultation as a co-teaching model, how does that work? Consultant direct services, are SLPs ever attached to an IEP goal? How to target articulation during natural learning opportunities, and how to determine the what for an IEP goal. And then embedding vocabulary into a lesson.
So embedding is a theme that you will find throughout this on-demand professional development. And then from there, while this isn't specific to SLPs really, some of them may be about articulation goals and things like that, but it's like any particular goal that you feel is really kind of narrow in scope. And it just happens to be practicing SLPs that answered the questions. And then down here, we have a longer series that Julie and I collaborated with 4 OTs and PTs, and they gave us their top tips for creating inclusive related services. We had Kate interviewed Kristen, who's an occupational therapist, and together they went through things that are commonly asked or worried about. You can see the chapters right here, even about the logistics of it, how to manage workloads and so forth. And then if you want more, you can go to the bonus sessions, or you can go back to the on-demand that Julie and I made.
Yeah. Great. So Christy's just showing us the on-demand just to give a little sense of what's there. The on-demand sessions are for OTPTs and SLPs, and it's all of the information you need to know about how to do this work. And then how do you bridge skill gaps? We've got that there too. And a 5-minute problem solving for OTs, PTs, and SLPs.
And so it goes on and on, you can see. So that. Oh yeah, you want to do these?
I just want you to show them what's there because this is sort of amazing. You pick which one you think is most exciting?
Well, we kind of alluded to scheduling. So you can come in the class right here and you pick it up, and then there will be a whole resource. It's 5 pages long about how do you do creative scheduling. So that was our first tip out of the gate tonight. And here would be a whole download of what to do, how to do it. And then I alluded to our new scheduling process that we'll be unveiling at the Summer Leadership Institute. You can get it now in this course. You may have it in your inbox if you check it and stuff like that.
That's right. So that is available for you.
Just one thing. And then there's like an FAQ. There's research about inclusive related. Here's the more about the matrix that we gave you in the chat today. There's a podcast. There's 9 ways to make anything inclusive. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of things that you could turn these into your tiny trainings or your handy handouts. So like Julie was just saying, our third tip about being a co-teacher and a collaborator and a creator of magic, a COM, here's a whole bunch of things that would get you started or give you ideas of things that you might do tiny trainings on or create handy handouts on.
That's right.
Okay.
So this is the course. It is available now. You can do it in multiple ways. So let's say you're an OT, PT, or SLP and you just want the course. We have them by the seat. That's fine. Our preference, and it's a strong preference for a really important reason, is that you get a district license. So after you check it out, if you get a single seat, you might then want to go and get a district license for everybody in your district, because then everybody in your district is starting to think about and use inclusive related services as a important, I was going to say option, but maybe the important way to actually deliver services and actually aligns with the spirit of the law. So all this is available to you now. Christy probably put a link to it in the Facebook chat.
Yep.
Okay, good. And do you have anything else that we wanted to talk about today?
I think that's it. Let's just recap that. What I think just what you were saying, Julie, that this is like sometimes one part of becoming a more inclusive school that doesn't get as much attention or as much specific conversation. So as an SLP, OT, or PT, you may even come to PD that Julie and I are doing, but it's sort of classroom based. It's really thinking about differentiation, it's thinking about behavior, it's thinking about how to make adaptations. We might even be talking about how to write IEP goals, but it's very general. And this is something that's just for OTs, PTs, and SLPs. And I think, as Julie said, by collaborating with so many practicing related service folks, you hear straight from folks who are doing it in lots of different states, in big districts, in small districts, in medium-sized districts. How do you do this if you're part of a BOCES? All of those kinds of conversations can start to be had. And then you get very practical things that you can implement right away, even if your system isn't as advanced as you are. So it's kind of a mixture, I'd say, Joel. But
yeah, and I have one more. I have one more thing to say that I think that the people who are practicing related service providers who co-teach these courses with us, the thing that they do for us is they help people see what they haven't practiced before, right? And so Christy and I do a lot of this is how, this is why, this is what this is. But what I think they do is paint the picture so that you, related service providers, can go, okay, I get it, because it's coming directly from the mouth of a practitioner who's doing this and believing in inclusive service provision so deeply.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. All right, Julie, I think that's a wrap. That's episode 6 of In the Circle with Julie and Christy. You've got the links to the course. You've got the links to the blog. We'll get the recording there posted shortly. We're headed off to Washington to train a bunch of amazing educators to be inclusive. So there you go.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
All right, Julie, you always need to do the magic there on your end.